Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important bonus video update for tonight. Now, as I mentioned on Thursday night's video, it has been another huge week. Lots and lots going on, especially, of course, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, it seems like the powers that be are really going after anyone who is speaking out against their official narrative, and they are trying to either silence them completely or discredit them in any way they can. Now, I'm aware of all the different theories that are doing the rounds at the moment regarding the whole Charlie Kirk situation, but I'm not going to address those tonight because I already have a heap to go through just specifically on the Dezi Freeman update and, of course, the sovereign citizen points that I need to make. So let's get straight, into tonight's video. Now, I want to start by just circling back for a moment to the last few videos that I've already done on this topic. So back on the 28th of August, which of course was just 2 days after the shooting incident, and then there was the brief update that I did on the 4th of September, and then of course there was the video addressing the whole Herald Sun hatchet job on the 7th of September. So my first video that I did on the whole Dezi Freeman situation asked a whole heap of questions about the incident that the media clearly weren't asking. Now, the second video raised even more questions that still haven't been answered. Then, of course, rather than actually addressing or answering any of those questions, the mainstream media, and in particular this Muppet from the Herald Sun, tried instead to discredit me and lump me in with these sovereign citizens that, of course, don't actually exist. So let's go back for a moment and have a look at what this journalist, John Kaler, who, by the way, has neither had the courtesy nor the courage to actually bother emailing me back after I contacted him after his lovely little hatchet job. But I'm pretty confident that he will do once the legal people reach out to him. So, yes, rest assured we are definitely escalating things in that regard. But let's see what he has to say about these sovereign citizens. So, I'm going to read straight from that media article from the Herald Sun last week, Sunday Herald Sun to be specific. And this is exactly what this John Kaler wrote about so-called sovereign citizens. And again, that was despite me spending 15 minutes on the phone with him explaining why the term was actually an oxymoron and why there was actually no such thing as a sovereign citizen. So again, for anyone who missed it, there it is, the big double-page spread on pages 8 and 9 of the Sunday Herald Sun last week. Now, of course, most importantly, we need to look at the title, and this will become very relevant as we go through tonight's video. So you can see there, Mad, Bad, and Dangerous. So here's a couple of extracts from the article. Sovereign citizens are anti-government and believe that they can opt in or out of any law they like, and when confronted, can use self-defense to protect themselves. Okay, keep that in mind. Professor Hilpern said, but it's a delusion. You think that your beliefs and your views are real, even though they have no foundation in law and have never been accepted by any court. That's why no lawyer will represent these people, because it's unethical to present a matter to the court that you think is completely wrong. Again, keep that in mind. So it's a delusion. But it's also a common delusion around Australia and indeed the world that laws don't apply to people and they can just accept those that they want and reject those that they don't at will. It's a little belief that becomes part of their fundamental identity, and that's the danger. They identify as sovereign citizens, and no logic, no law, no common sense, no family argument, and it would seem no use of force by the authorities is going to be acceptable to them. This is him talking about sovereign citizens. Keep this in mind because it will become relevant, I assure you. He goes on, And if you talk to any police officer or any court or any judge, you will hear this movement is exponentially growing. How big is it? We don't know. How dangerous is it? Well, we certainly know that now. Well, you will by the end of tonight's video, let me assure you. Professor Hilpern said that it was a slippery slope once people sign up to the belief that the law does not apply to them. It's then very easy to argue, as Dezi Freeman seems to have done, that the police are acting unlawfully against him. So they believe they are under attack and they're able to defend themselves now. We all know that it's not true. You can't defend yourself against the police when they're coming to arrest you or search your premises, because that's not self-defense. That's resisting police in the execution of their duty. But in their eyes, they are defending themselves and defending true law as they believe it to be. Couple more small points. We must take this seriously, because I can't think of any other organisation or movement, no bikie gang or drug syndicate, that has cost the lives of 5 police officers in a 3-year period, he said. It's just incredibly sad and just so awful. New South Wales Police estimate there are 250 Australian sovereign citizens in 2015, but Professor Hobbs said this number would have escalated since COVID. My sense is that it's not winning in an orthodox sense, but it's about having some power and authority and control in their life. We'll come back to that in a minute too. So there's some sort of crisis, like a family breakdown. You might lose your sense of identity or who you are as a person. Okay, so that's what John Kaler has to say about sovereign citizens in this article, and that is going to form the foundation of tonight's video. So let's set aside the fact, just for a moment, that legally and logically sovereign citizens simply can't exist. I've explained this why on previous videos. I'm not going to do it again. So let's see, if we put that aside for a moment, let's see if we can find any examples of the sorts of people that John Kaler is describing. People who think that the law doesn't apply to them, and people who really are mad, bad, and dangerous, as the headline of his article says. So, first up, and unfortunately I can't really show it to you here on a live video, but there's been a video doing the rounds on social media of where Dezi Freeman was approached by some police officers during COVID regarding a peaceful protest that he was part of. Now, we'll put a link up in the description and the comments and everything in a moment. Now, Dezi speaks to the police very, very calmly and clearly, and he actually invites them to sit down and ask to see if they can end any potential conflict by simply working out what points of law they actually agree on and what points of law they might still disagree on. So Dezi reads out the actual law that he is sitting there operating under, word for word, citing the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. He also speaks to this sergeant and he refers to section 456AA of the Crimes Act, and he specifically asks this Sergeant M. Walker very clearly, are you operating under the COVID emergency directions? Now, she states that she's operating under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. He then asks, oh, so you're an authorised officer under the Act then? And she clearly says yes. Now, that, of course, is a complete lie, because she was never personally delegated that authority. And as I've explained before, a delegated power cannot be undelegated. The Chief Health Officer delegated those powers to the Commissioner of Police, not to the individual police officers. And once that power was delegated, it cannot legally be undelegated. And that's something we've spoken about many, many times on our radio shows. So then Dezi asks, and again, the legislation specifically authorises him to ask this question, can I see your ID signed by the Secretary? And then this sergeant refuses. So Dezi then calmly reads out on camera the fact that section 166 of the Public Health and Wellbeing Act clearly says an authorised officer must produce their identity card for inspection before exercising a power under this Act of the regulations. The identity card must be signed by the Secretary and contain a photo. He literally reads it out on the camera in front of the sergeant and then asks Very simply, do you have that ID or do you not? Well, the sergeant completely deflects and claims that she's not going to be interrogated by Dezi. Okay. Then, of course, he makes it clear that it's actually the police who are interrogating him. So, my question for you is this. In this scenario, and again, we'll put the link up to the video and I urge you all please to watch it. Who is actually acting like the law doesn't apply to them? Who is actually acting like they are above the law in that situation? Is it Dezi or is it actually the police sergeant? Oh, but Mike, that's an isolated incident. You know, clearly Dezi's the bad guy, the police are the good guys. You've taken that video out of context. Well, it's a 30-minute video or so I'm not sure how you can take an entire video completely out of context. But again, I urge you all, please watch that video in its entirety so you can make up your own mind. But look, let's just assume that argument is correct for a moment. Because there was, in fact, a story that came out quite recently in the mainstream media about Dezi Freeman exploding in anger at police, which, of course, I would never, ever condone. But let's just stop for a moment and have a quick look at exactly what he was exploding at the police over. Now, I'm going to give everyone a warning before I read this next article out. A very quick disclaimer. This portion of the video may be distressing to some viewers, so I would certainly recommend that you do not let any young children listen to the next few sections. So I'm just going to pause for a moment and give you an opportunity to address that recommendation should you choose to do so. All right, so this is the article I'm going to read out again with that aforementioned warning. Dezi Freeman exploded in anger on Facebook over rogue Sydney cops Nathan Black and Timothy Trouch attacking a mentally ill woman weeks before he allegedly shot dead 2 policemen. Dezi Freeman was enraged by 2 rogue Sydney cops savagely stomping on a naked, mentally ill woman in the weeks before he allegedly murdered 2 policemen in Victoria's Alpine Country. The sovereign citizen rallied against the actions of Nathan Black and Timothy Trouch in a Facebook post on August 9th, the day after they were jailed for the sickening attack. Black and Trouch had also pepper sprayed the woman's genitals. In an outrage, their sentencing judge described as displaying gratuitous cruelty. Black and Trouch pleaded guilty to assaulting the 48-year-old woman during an arrest in Emu Plains in Sydney's West on January 22nd, 2023. After the attack, they sent body-worn camera footage to a colleague bragging, "We caved her." Judge Turnbull, sitting in Penrith District Court, sentenced Black to 5 years and 9 months in prison with a minimum term of 3 years and 3 months. Trouch was jailed for 5 years with a non-parole period of 3 years. Previously suppressed CCTV of the horrific 18-minute-long attack was released after their sentencing. The confronting footage showed the pair of police officers arriving at the scene where the woman was found bathing herself in a puddle on the road. The victim, who cannot be named for legal reasons, had earlier been released from the nearby Amber Laurel Women's Correctional Centre. The court heard the woman had been given antipsychotic medication for her schizophrenia, but had not taken it. The footage of what happened next is so appalling that New South Wales Police tried to get it suppressed for 60 years. Okay? So 2 police officers have committed an absolutely horrendous act, and what do the top dogs at New South Wales Police do? They try and suppress the footage. Okay? But I'll continue. But Judge Turnbull agreed to play the video taken from body-worn cameras and CCTV at their sentence hearing. The footage showed the woman being pushed onto the road, kicked twice in the head, dragged by her hair, and punched while she sobbed and screamed at the men. The 2 officers struggled to handcuff her on the ground as she lashed out with her arms while spraying her 6 times with pepper spray. The woman was sprayed twice in the face, once on her back, already grazed from the rough road surface, and once on her genitals. They discussed using a taser and a long baton with Troush visibly laughing. This is the police. Black messaged a colleague that they had emptied 2 cans of pepper spray at the woman and boasted that the whole body worn is so good, shows her being effed. The woman died in unrelated circumstances 18 months after the attack. Still images from police body-worn footage were also released, which showed the woman being pepper sprayed as she sat naked in a gutter. Another showed Troush smiling during the attack. I struggle with what the possible reason was beyond the intention to inflict gratuitous pain, Judge Turnbull said at a pre-sentence hearing. Now, that is just absolutely horrendous. And I think the thing that people need to realise, that I just need to make crystal clear, okay, this was committed by 2 armed police officers against an unarmed, naked woman. Okay, just let that sink in a moment. Okay, now when I read this, I was absolutely shocked because it was sent through to us by one of our members, and I wasn't actually aware of that incident. I don't actually follow the mainstream media unless it's specifically for articles for videos. So I was truly shocked. So again, here's my question for all you watching this: was Dezi actually right to call out these police officers for this heinous act? As always, I'll let you be the judge. But again, I remind you of what John Kaler and David Hilpern's definition of sovereign citizens is. It's people who think they are above the law or that the law does not apply to them. Certainly seems like, in this instance, the police were acting in that capacity. So again, that's what it seems like to me, but I'm going to ask you, does that description of the people who think they're above the law or that the law doesn't apply to them, do you think after hearing me read that article, that description applies more to Dezi Freeman for exploding in anger against the police after this, disgraceful act, or do you think it applies more to the police in this particular scenario? Oh, but Mike, that's a totally isolated incident. There are bad people in any group. And, those officers clearly did the wrong thing and they've been jailed as a result. So, you can't really focus on that. Hang on a minute. If we go back to that Herald Sun article, wasn't John Kaler and David Hilpern trying to say that all sovereign citizens are dangerous? Anyone that identifies as a sovereign citizen is extremely dangerous. Weren't they also saying that all websites that urge people to legitimately question the government authority must be shut down? All of them. Didn't isolate it to 1 or 2. It said all such people and all such websites. So why, of course, the double standards? Either a group of people who think they are above the law, such as the ones who enforce it without any, ramifications or care of any ramifications, are all dangerous, or they're not. Surely you can't just pick and choose as you see fit, even though, of course, the majority of the people that the media term as sovereign citizens are completely peaceful people who are simply exercising their constitutional and common law right to question their government and hold them to account. No, Mike, you're being far too simplistic. You're just cherry picking now. That was an isolated incident. It was from 2 years ago. You need to move on. Okay, my bad. Sorry. You're probably right. Okay, I know the media are allowed to cherry pick, the quotes that they want to include in their stories, and they can pick whatever angle that, suits their particular agenda. But us, common folk, we have to stick to the facts. Okay, well, no problem. Got it. I'll move on to a more recent story. We can't get more recent than what just came out this week, September 11th to be exact. Okay, here's a story that, again, you can all check up, confirm that it came out just this week. Cops accused of unlawfully killing Melbourne tradie Luke Briggs outside a Hoppers Crossing 7-Eleven face court. 2 policemen have faced court over the alleged negligent manslaughter of a tradie who suffered a fatal brain injury during his arrest outside a 7-Eleven. Luke Briggs, 35, was arrested by the officers over alleged traffic-related offences in a car park in Hoppers Crossing in Melbourne's West on July 15th last year. On Friday, Victoria Police officers Constable Alexander Papanastasis, 29, and Sergeant James Fitzgerald, 45, fronted Melbourne Magistrates Court for the first time to face the charges. Mr Briggs, a local builder, became unresponsive and was taken to the Royal Melbourne Hospital in a critical condition where he was placed in an induced coma. His life support was turned off 8 days later while he was wearing his favourite Bunnings jumper, a beer by his side, and surrounded by his loved ones. Homicide detectives charged both officers with negligent manslaughter on Thursday. Here's the kicker. The men will remain on bail to appear back in court on December the 12th. They've just been charged with negligent manslaughter and yet they're out on bail? Do you honestly reckon that they would bail Dezi Freeman if he was caught tomorrow? Seems once again to be very, very serious double standards going on here. Now, let's not also forget the 3 armed police officers who were also found guilty of assaulting a disability pensioner back in 2017. Okay, I'm sure we all remember that video that did the rounds. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole article. It's from a few years ago. Or what about this one? Okay, Victoria police officer in court over man slammed to ground during incident at Flinders Street Station. The police officer picked this man up and body slammed him into the ground, onto the concrete. Okay? Now, please understand, okay, I have absolutely nothing against police officers. Okay? As I explained on a recent video, I actually did contract work for Victoria Police for 13 years. Okay? So I don't believe that every police officer is bad, but you can't pick and choose. You can't say all sovereign citizens are bad, but it's only isolated police officers. Either all or nothing. It's got to be applied to both groups. Okay? But these articles do beg the question, especially in light of the comments of that original Herald Sun article. Do these actions by the police make them, in fact, sovereign citizens? Well, the answer, of course, is no. Because there is no such thing as a sovereign citizen. But the next question is, who best fits John Kaler's or David Healpern's description of a sovereign citizen? Those who don't think that the laws apply to them. Who does that apply to more accurately, Dezi Freeman or the police in these instances? Again, as always, I'll leave that question for you to decide. Now, speaking of that original Herald Sun article, Dawn Kelly actually did an amazing job of reframing that article and rewriting it in a way that reflects the truth far more accurately than that Muppet John Kaler did in the Herald Sun. And just perhaps maybe if he'd written a proper, fair, impartial and balanced article, like the one I'm about to read to you, then he might not be facing all of the considerable backlash that he currently is. So this is doing the rounds on social media, and I urge you to go and read it. So as you may recall, the original article had Mad, Bad and Dangerous as the title, and Dawn has changed it to Awake, Aware and Courageous. In response to an article published by the Sunday Herald Sun on 7 September 2025, titled Mad, Bad and Dangerous, I, Dawn Michelle Kelly, issued the following counter-narrative. The original piece sought to ridicule, delegitimise and criminalise Australians who are peacefully asserting their lawful rights and questioning state overreach. It relied on sensational headlines, selective omission and character attacks. The ripple effect of mainstream media controlling the narrative is profound. Public perception is tainted, communities are divided, and those who dare to stand up for justice are vilified. By silencing legitimate grievances and framing truth seekers as threats, the media shields the powerful while disempowering ordinary people. What follows is my line-by-line response, restoring context, truth, and lawful foundation to the matters dismissed in that article. So the first subheading, huge dollars drive state profiteering. The Australian government extracts billions each year through speed cameras, parking fines, registrations, and unlawful taxes. This massive revenue stream depends on the public's blind compliance and silence. But across the country, ordinary men and women are awakening. They are studying historical documents like Magna Carta, the 1836 Letters Patent, and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples to challenge corporate overreach masquerading as government authority. The media frame mad, bad and dangerous. Mainstream outlets paint this movement as mad, bad and dangerous. In reality, it's peaceful, principled and courageous. Photos of passionate community educators are splashed across pages to make them look eccentric or untrustworthy. Headlines scream danger, but what's really dangerous is an unaccountable state profiting from unlawful statutes. Knowledge is not snake oil. Professors and academics are wheeled out to dismiss sovereignty teachings as snake oil. Yet the same academics draw their salaries from institutions that rely on maintaining the status quo. What is shared in seminars and workshops is not fantasy, it's lawful remedy, practical tools for defending oneself in court, protecting property and asserting constitutional rights. Magna Carta and historical law. The Magna Carta is mocked as irrelevant, but it is a cornerstone of Western law, enshrining due process, trial by jury, and the principle that the rulers are bound by law. The Letters Patent of 1836, still active, confirmed that original and inherent jurisdiction has not been extinguished. Sovereign men and women invoking these instruments are not delusional, they are standing on unbroken foundations. Who really profits? Media insists that sovereignty educators make money. In truth, workshop fees barely cover costs of venues, travel and resource materials. By contrast, the state rakes in billions in fines and fees. $597 to retrieve your own driver's license. $247 for a basic booklet explaining rights you already have. $500 plus for minor parking or red light infractions. The profit is, if profit is the test, the government is the greatest profiteer of all. Character assassination. Community leaders are smeared as frauds, witches or treasonous. These are medieval accusations designed to ridicule. Why? Because their arguments cannot be easily dismissed in court. When lawful challenges expose contradictions in the system, the state attacks the messenger instead of answering the message. Justice system exposed. Media claims courts are clogged with sovereign citizens. The truth? Courts are being forced to slow down and actually address procedural fairness. For decades, Australian courts have relied on rubber-stamped convictions, unchallenged certificates and a conveyor belt justice model. Self-represented litigants demanding due process disrupt this machine, and that disruption is framed as nuisance. Police fear accountability. Police bulletins warn of copycats. What they fear is not violence. This movement is non-violent, but accountability. When Australians learn they can lawfully question police authority, refuse unlawful directions and demand identification, the bluff collapses. Knowledge spread fast, and that's why the system ridicules it. Conclusion, narrative management. The article is not investigative journalism, it is narrative management, ridicule, fear, omission and deflection. What you are not told, the constitutional foundations are still binding in Australia. The human rights obligations under UNDRIP and international law. The reality that justice must be accessible, fair and open. Australians are awakening. That awakening cannot be stopped by headlines, ridicule or fear. So a brilliant rewrite and a huge shout out to Dawn for that very balanced perspective that does crystallise the true biased agenda of the original hatchet job done by John Kaler. Okay, so getting back to the Dezi Freeman narrative. Obviously, a lot has happened since my last update on this, and once again, the latest mainstream media articles raise far more questions than they actually answer. Now, in case you might have missed it, the main headline of this week has been all about this 27-minute video footage that's come to light that the media have apparently seen, but no one else is allowed to see. So here's one of the articles addressing it, and again, I will warn that some of this content could be distressing for some viewers. So here is the title, if you want to look this up for yourselves. Chilling first images of the moments before Dezi Freeman opened fire and killed 2 cops as his wife begged to come out, as we reveal exactly how the ambush unfolded. Now, just on that point, an ambush is where there's one person and 10 people go after that one person and ambush them. I've never heard of an ambush where the one person supposedly ambushed the 10 people coming after them. That's a very weird version of ambush. But anyway, it's in the media. Must be right. For the first time, chilling details of the moment sovereign citizen Dezi Freeman gunned down 2 police officers have been revealed, laying bare the chaos of the deadly standoff. The Daily Mail has seen extraordinary footage of the 27-minute siege, showing Freeman, 56, barricaded inside his bus with his wife Marley and their 2-year-old son. 10 officers arrived at the Freeman compound in Pawnpukka, 300 kilometres northeast of Melbourne, on August 26 to execute a search warrant linked to historical allegations Freeman sexually assaulted a minor. What followed was a fraught confrontation that was captured from multiple angles on mobile phones and a police body camera. Okay, I'll come back to that in a moment, but that's what they've written in the article. In the video, Freeman flatly refused to open the bus door, and his voice shook with rage as officers, some in plain clothes, others in uniform, tried to reason with him. From inside, Ms. Freeman could be heard asking the officers not to enter the bus. "Can you please not barge in?" she said. "We have a search warrant," a second officer responded. "I have a kid, please," Ms. Freeman begged, her voice shaking. Leave us alone," Freeman shouted. What followed was an extended back and forth between Freeman and several officers. Freeman demanded to see the warrant, claimed he had autism and post-traumatic stress disorder, and insisted a disability liaison officer be present. So he asked for a medical liaison officer, which, as you'll see in a moment, was refused. Freeman named various other police officers he wanted to attend as witnesses, and when the warrant was held up against the bus window, he snapped that it was not valid. So again, he specifically asked for senior police officers to be present and, presumably said that he'd be happy to talk to them, but again, they refused to work with him. "You have been targeting me for 7 years, Freeman claimed, before demanding to speak to the senior sergeant and commanding officer. Again, as is absolutely his right to do. As the bus door was slowly jarred open, he shouted, "Tell your goons to stop breaking the door. This is domestic terrorism. Why did you join the police? So you can terrorise families." At this point, four or five officers moved in and out of the makeshift kitchen attached to the bus. We'll come back to that in a moment too. The other officers could be seen hanging back a few metres away. Small hands, either Marley's or the child's, appeared through the gap in the door as the officers continued to try and pry it open. Miss Freeman then told the officers she was coming out, but remained inside. It's unclear if she was able to open the door. "You're just going to kill me." "We're not going to kill you," an officer replied calmly. "You can shoot me in the back and get away with it," Freeman responded. During the altercation, various officers moved in and out of the makeshift kitchen. Miss Freeman was seemingly sitting on the steps of the bus directly behind the door, and their toddler was with her. Miss Freeman cried, "Okay, we're coming out," but it was too late, and she was told to move back and stop hindering us. So a woman with a child is trying to get out of a bus that is surrounded by 10 police officers, and yet they're saying to her, "Stop hindering us"? Yeah, okay, I'll just scratch my head for a bit. Within seconds, two gunshots rang out, and officers scattered in terror. Detective Thompson and Detective Senior Constable DeWart Hotard were both shot dead at point-blank range. The video then ended. So, that's what the Daily Mail had to say after seeing that video footage. Now, what's interesting is that our good friends at the Herald Sun also released a similar story at the same time, but there were some definitive conflicting details. So, here is the Herald Sun's version of the same story. Chilling footage. Again, almost word for word, same title. Chilling footage captures the police standoff with Dezi Freeman, and moment shots ring out, leaving 2 police officers dead. Harrowing footage. Filmed by a family member. Daily Mail didn't mention anything about a family member. We've never heard anything about a family member. What's going on there? Anyway, filmed by a family member, supposedly, has captured the tense police standoff with Dezi Freeman at a remote Porpunka property, and the moment shots ring out, leaving 2 police officers dead. In the video obtained by the Daily Mail, Freeman, his wife Amalia, Marley Freeman, and their 2-year-old son are barricaded inside a bus at a property in Victoria's High Country as officers attempt to execute a search warrant. Throughout the video, which police confirmed was filmed by a member of Dezi Freeman's family, how is it we're only hearing 2.5 weeks in that there was another member of the family there? We'll come back to that. Freeman accuses police of being Nazi thugs and refuses to open the bus door as officers plead for calm. Now, I want to show you that as clearly as I can. This is one of the screenshots or stills from that video. You can very clearly see a police officer wearing a body camera there. It goes on. Victoria Police have offered a $1 million reward for information leading to Freeman's capture and issued a statement. Victoria Police are aware of vision circulating online in relation to Desmond Freeman and a search warrant that was executed at a property on Rainer Track on Tuesday, 26th of August. The statement read, "We can confirm the vision is not from police body-worn camera footage or members attending the incident." And yet, the Daily Mail, who were the ones that saw the video, said that it was multiple angles from mobile phones, and body cam footage. So 2 mainstream media articles, and they can't even get their stories straight. So, what's going on here? How can you possibly have multiple angles, but from one mobile phone? Why say that there's multiple angles and body cam footage if that wasn't the case? And then why not issue a retraction if that's not correct? Even I issued an apology on my last video update over one of the comments that I made, which is, a minor thing about, new driver license requirements not being 100% accurate. Surely something as inaccurate as that, as saying there was, the footage was from multiple angles, including, officer body cam footage, is not right. You'd issue a retraction. But most importantly, who is this mysterious family member that was supposedly filming all of this? As I said before, we haven't heard any reports of anyone else being present at the property at the time. And surely, come on, in a situation as dangerous and as tense as this, the police would have forced any family member, if they were really there at all, well and truly outside of the area. I mean, the police tried to confiscate mobile phones and phone footage of people filming them at protests, for crying out loud. As if they'd let someone film an important operation like this, unless, of course, they actually wanted that footage to be leaked. I'll leave that with you. And, speaking of which, how is it that the police have confirmed that the footage has come from a family member, and again, they didn't confiscate that phone or that footage after 2 police officers were shot dead? Wouldn't that be normal protocol? If there was someone else standing there filming, they would have grabbed the phone and grabbed the footage. Okay? And again, that footage has magically been released to the media, but none of the actual other body-worn camera footage has been released at the end. Clearly things just don't add up. And look, that's just the inconsistencies between the 2 articles. What about some of the similarities? Because both media articles report the same following points. Firstly, Marley is clearly explaining that she wants to come out. She explains she has a young child, and rather than assist her, the police turn around and accuse her of obstructing them. Okay? Secondly, both articles say that the police are constantly moving in and out of that annex area. Okay? i.e. the police are all in that vicinity. So again, how does he get out of the bus and out of the annex area and run off into the bush with 8 other police officers all around in a very enclosed space? Again, both articles say that 2 shots rang out. So how were 2 police officers shot at point-blank range and then a 3rd officer was shot or injured when only 2 shots rang out? Now, it's also been claimed in previous articles that Dezi shot police with a homemade shotgun. Now, again, 2 officers were supposedly shot at point-blank range, and a 3rd officer was shot. Now, I've never made a homemade shotgun. I don't ever intend to make a homemade shotgun. I've never even used a shotgun of any kind. But I did look up online when I was researching tonight's video, and from what I can find, and again, this is just my limited research, I urge you to do your own, but it seems like most homemade shotguns are actually just single shot. Now, absolutely, it is possible that there was a double, I think it's called a double barrel shotgun or double shot shotgun, which was illegally modified, like a sawn off shotgun or something. And maybe because of that, it was referred to as homemade. But again, that would only account for the 2 shots to be fired, not 3. And surely, if that was the weapon that Dezi used to kill police officers, then the police would have shown photos of that weapon or some stock photos of a similar weapon, just like they did with Martin Bryant after Port Arthur. More recently, the police in America have shown photos of the gun that was allegedly used by Tyler Robinson to shoot Charlie Kirk. Okay? But again, we're 3 weeks in and there's no images whatsoever of this homemade gun that Dezi allegedly used to shoot 2 police officers. Why not? So, once again, these articles simply raise more questions than they answer. Now, unfortunately, I do need to finish off on a possible answer. And I dare say that many of you are not going to like it, and that is the very real possibility that Dezi is no longer with us. Now, I did mention this idea on a Facebook post the other week. And before I expand on this idea, I want to make it crystal clear. This is just my opinion. It is not a verifiable fact in any way, shape or form. It's not been confirmed. It is definitely just my idea, my opinion, claim, speculation, whatever you want to call it. Unlike, of course, the fact that I absolutely categorically did help to run the company that did police transcripts for 13 years, which is absolutely irrefutable, something that our good friends at the Herald Sun don't seem to be able to comprehend. But anyway, just like the media has sources, we too at the Know Your Rights group obviously have sources as well. And as myself, having personally worked for Victoria Police for 13 years, I obviously have some contacts as well. So it was reported to me that Dezi was actually killed on that day in question, and that the police did not want to announce it for fear of him being made into some kind of a martyr, just like what's obviously just happened recently, essentially with Charlie Kirk, and they didn't want to announce it because all those big rallies were going to be happening that weekend. They then saw how many people turned up to those rallies, realised that they couldn't announce it then for fear of, completely flipping that narrative, which again has already started to happen with all of these old videos of Dezi's that have been doing the rounds now on social media, and people are starting to understand that he was actually very, very calm, very, very clear, very, very concise, and clearly knew the law. Now, in addition to my sources, there are a number of other reasons why I believe that this is unfortunately likely true. Again, I want to make it clear, it's just my belief, and I do most certainly hope that I am wrong, but this is what I have before me. So, firstly, as I've already mentioned, it makes absolutely no logical sense that there were 10 police around the caravan. Dezi shot 2 police officers with supposedly a homemade shotgun that could probably only just fire 1 shot at a time, if it even existed. And then he's just somehow managed to escape from a completely surrounded, bus and annex. Secondly, I have heard personally from people that are in and around the area in Popunka, as well as friends who are not on the same page as I am with all of this, that they were just simply travelling up to the snow and just simply passing through the area, and they've all said the same thing, that the police presence, and in particular the helicopter flights, which of course cost a lot of money to run, have been significantly over-exaggerated, and there's nowhere near as much going on as what the media would like you to believe. Thirdly, the media reports that the military have been called in, yet with all of their high-tech classified technology and all the rest of it, there's still been absolutely no breakthroughs whatsoever. Then, of course, there's the $1 million reward that they offered in my view, knowing full well that they'll never have to pay it out because he's already deceased. And then finally, there's the kicker, and that is the mainstream media justification for why he's already dead. So this one snuck through last week. It hasn't been mentioned again anywhere that I've seen, but I wouldn't be surprised if something similar comes out in the future. This is entitled, Experts Suggest Dezi Freeman May Be Dead as Manhunt for Alleged Cop Killer Enters 11th Day. Dezi Freeman may have met a horror end while on the run from police, experts suggested, as a chilling new video emerged of the accused cop killer. It's been 11 days since Dezi Freeman was seen alive as he fled armed with guns into dense bushland after allegedly shooting dead 2 detectives in a small Victorian town. However, experts say if he has taken refuge inside one of the area's thousands of mine shafts, he may never come out alive. There is speculation the 56-year-old may be hiding in a mineshaft hole, one of many dotted across the rugged terrain, given the conditions at times have been cold and wet, with temperatures plummeting to single digits. Mineshaft experts Christopher Bogasus and Kyle Cranfield both agree he could be underground as cops and sniffer dogs searched above. Mr. Cranfield flagged the holes provided warmth and protection from the treacherous weather, but it can be dangerous for those who don't understand how they work. CO2, carbon dioxide, will sit and pool in a mine. You may, at the entrance, be fine. You may even walk into it and be fine. But once you go down below a certain level, it will just pool there, he told the Herald Sun. Now, if you believe the media stories that Dezi was very, very well, knew the area very, very well, he was very, very familiar with the territory, you would expect that he would also be very, very familiar with mines and, of course, how they operate. So I'm sure he was well aware of any pooling of CO2 and all the rest of it. So personally, and again, it's just my personal opinion, that I believe that that is just an excuse for why they say he will not be found. So, for whatever it's worth, my belief is that the media hype and the police and military presence will slowly but surely die down quietly over the coming weeks and months as there are other bigger distractions for them to focus on. And then who knows, in 6 months, a year, 3, 5, maybe even 10 years down the track, a hiker or a gold prospector or someone like that will stumble upon the body, and then the police will confirm at that point that it is Dezi Freeman. So again, I sincerely hope that I'm wrong, but given the intel and information that I currently have to hand, I do believe that is the most likely scenario. But as always, I will leave it for you to decide. Now, before we finish off on that possibly sad note, again, please let me circle back and again ask you to consider, given everything that I've shared in this bonus video update, do you really believe that Dezi Freeman accurately reflects the definition of a non-existent sovereign citizen as defined by John Kaler and David Halpern, or do you think the police themselves, in those instances, better suit that description? Please feel free to confirm your belief in the comment section below. Now, if you do want to learn how to stand up and fight back legally within the confines of the current legal system and the law, not by arguing that the law doesn't apply to you or any of that rubbish, then please do be sure to have a look at our website, knowyourrightsgroup.com.au, and in particular, next Sunday's mock court case webinar, where we're going to go through a number of actual mock court case examples. We're going to have a pretend magistrate, a pretend defendant, a pretend prosecutor, and we're going to show you how to raise valid legal arguments within the current court system. Again, we show you exactly how courts operate, what happens at a contest mention as opposed to a contest hearing. We're going to go through examples of parking fines, speeding fines, unregistered vehicle fines, even dealing with debt collectors, should they choose to take you to court. So we're going to explain sentencing indications, summary dismissals, even raising new arguments that we haven't covered in previous webinars. So Pardon me, whether you're a first timer, you've never been to court before, or you're one of our more experienced members, there's going to be a lot for everyone to learn from this particular event. We've got a brand new PowerPoint presentation that's been made just for this event. It's never been shown to anybody before. And then we've got 8 detailed actual mock court cases from beginner right through to advanced to go through. So again, all of this is presented from our own experience in the courts, and we're going to be showing people based on real live court cases how they can play out, both good and bad, so that you understand how to stand up for yourself and operate within that current legal system. Now, as predicted on Thursday night's video, that webinar did actually sell out yesterday, so we have added on another 10 tickets just to make sure that nobody misses out. So if you want to grab one of those last few tickets, please click on the link in the description or under the webinars tab and lock that spot in. And very quickly to finish off, as always, I am going to go through the latest memes to get people thinking. Oh, and first up, just one very short, not necessarily a testimonial, but just very nice feedback from Fabrizio, who said, "Hi Mike, I just wanted to express our support to you and the KYR team after listening to your update on Sunday the 7th. It was pretty upsetting listening how MSM had completely made false statements without even doing proper investigations or search for feedback. I think that article was already prepared before your so-called interview." I think so too. "Clearly there is a pattern of trying to put down people exposing the truth and questioning the system. Since I joined your group 4 years ago, I had little successes like pushing back on speeding fines, pushing back on director ID and other matters, and I know there is still a lot to learn. So on my behalf, thank you for what you are doing, and I'm sure that you have many other people thinking like me. Be strong. Regards, Fabrizio." So thanks very much for that feedback, and there's been other people who've sent messages and things like that as well, so I really do appreciate that. That keeps me going in the, in the face of all this and putting these videos and everything together. Now, so I did mention, of course, the Charlie Kirk situation at the start. So this is one little bit of positive news, a silver lining, if you like. And it says, "Finally a reason to smile through this. When the incident occurred, this man had 1.7 million followers on Instagram. As of this moment, he has 10 million. That's 8.3 million more people that will be seeing his content, hearing his voice, and his message getting pushed out. Thank you, Charlie, for being a missionary to the masses. We won't forget." So, again, very important point. And one of our members sent us through this after that Herald Sun hatchet job, and I had a laugh and thought, yes, I'll definitely have to show everybody that one. So, as it says, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes journalism. And that seems to be exactly what's going on with this sovereign citizen rubbish. And along the same lines, there's another one that's very similar. It says, "If you don't stop lying, you'll grow up to be an Australian journalist or politician." And I think everybody can understand that. All right, so I am going to leave things there for tonight. Don't forget, our spring sale has been extended until midnight tonight. So it ends at midnight tonight. So anything that you order over $100, any of our physical products, okay, you do get a free cap and beanie to keep you warm or protected in the lovely spring weather, which can always be a little bit eventful. Don't forget, no radio show on Tuesday, but we will be replaying last week's show. Of course, if you want to go above and beyond what we cover in those videos or shows, we do have our book, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. Of course, that Aussie Speeding Fines book, these guys have been around for 18 years, showing people the correct, tried, tested and proven system, okay, for successfully challenging all unjust and unlawful fines. And of course, we do know a lot of people are genuinely struggling financially at the moment, so please stop throwing good money after bad at your unsecured loans. That's your personal loans, your credit cards. They can all be very easily written off or discharged with that tried, tested, proven 4-step process. So you'll find links in the description. You can get these individually. You can get them all as part of the combo pack. You do, of course, get that bonus tote bag included. And as I said, if you get that, you'll get the hat and beanie as well. And said our live events, in-person live events have, of course, finished, other than the boot camp. So if you want a complete recording of one of our 2.5-day live events, That's the home study course. It's got 17 DVDs that you can pause, rewind, fast forward in the comfort of your own home, and of course at your own pace. So it is a fantastic resource tool to come back to again and again over the years. Don't forget our mock court cases webinar next Sunday. A handful of tickets left. Be sure to grab those. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic week, everyone, and good night.